Go out to the 610 hotline and welcome in Danan Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver. Of course, you'll hear him on the call Monday night for the Super Bowl rematch between the Chiefs and the Eagles. Before we get to that, Danan, I have to ask you a question. You're the perfect individual for this because our producer, Drew, we were somehow yesterday discussing wide receivers.
Tony's production. Two catches for 14 yards is his average.
Yeah, Tony's averaging 2 catches for 14 yards. And Cody asked the question whether or not one of us could do that. And I said, hell no. And Drew, of course, stepped right up and said, oh, yeah.
Give me a zone.
2 catches, 14 yards, I can do it. I said, absolutely not. You're out of your mind. So what's your response to that?
1,000% out of his mind.
Yeah.
Come on.
And I don't know which one is more of a stretch, the 2 catches or the 14 yards, because I don't think he would get either of those in an NFL game. I think this is just another example, guys, of slow motion, the instant replay, the constant barrage of videos that we see at different motions and different speeds, making people falsely believe that they could actually go on an NFL field and produce. The game is significantly faster than what you think you're seeing in real time. I don't care about the segments with the telestrator and the drawing the lines and the space that you think you see. It is literally faster, extremely faster than what your eyes are deceiving you to believe. So, yeah, you're way out of the park in believing that you could catch 2 passes, never mind it be for 14 yards.
I thought the only advantage he might have, Danan, is they straight up just might not cover him. Like, screw this. We're just not going to put anybody on him. We're just going to double somebody else because even if the ball goes his way, we're going to be to him in about a half a second or he's going to drop it.
Yeah, I remember the story, and I had been a veteran in the league as a wide receiver, and not many people realize that Ronnie Lott's last stint in the NFL was with the Chiefs. He came and he was I want to say it was either 97 or 98, where he came he was a free agent signee with the Chiefs in the preseason, and we're practicing up in River Falls, and I run a slant route, and even at that age, which he had to be pushing 40, around that time, he flew by me, spared my life, just flew right by me. I still caught the ball, finished the play. It was practice. He took mercy on me. And as I went back to the huddle, he was like, hey, I could have put you down there, and make sure your quarterback knows not to hang you out like that in a real game. And it was just the reality of, I played in the league 5 years. That was my 6th year going into. I knew about the speed of the game, but it was just maybe I had taken my eye off the prize, I guess, in regards to recognizing that he still had the speed in the game. And so that was kind of a reality check that you never take anybody for granted. I kind of feel like that would be the case for Drew, where somebody, Justin Reed or somebody, would just fly right by him, maybe let him catch the ball, just scare the crap out of him, because other than that, he would not probably catch a pass.
Yeah, I mean, the topic came about because of Kadarius Toney. 2 catches for 14 yards. That's what he's averaging. We heard Andy Reid's comments earlier this week talking about him, staying healthy and remembering that he's coming off a knee injury. Look, I get that. I think before the season, Danan, if I would have said, hey, he's going to play 15 games, we all would have said, man, he's going to have like 900 yards this year. Well, he might play 15 games this year, but if he's not producing or getting playing time, that's not doing anything for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a question that has not been answered yet. And I even take myself back into the preseason. He had a great Super Bowl. He was a catalyst in us getting another ring. But the questions that I brought up after the Super Bowl still remain unanswered. It's about the vertical game for our wide receivers. And it's nice, it's the bright, shiny coin when you're going east and west and you're running sideline to sideline passes, swing routes, bubble screens, jet sweeps, all of those things. That's great. And they work to some extent. But to me, the true testament of a viable receiver, especially in this offense and a dangerous threat for Patrick Mahomes, is the vertical game. How do you run your hooks? How do you run your deep ends? How do you run your posts, your goes, your comebacks? How much separation? And most importantly, how many throws that come from Patrick Mahomes are easy throws because you've created enough separation that he can just toss the ball to you and you can make plays. He's had those opportunities, and I just haven't seen a consistent amount, in that realm to say that he could be a true number 2, number 3, or even number 4 receiver. He's going to have his packages, and we're going to see those involved in the game where he lines up in the backfield, he runs jet sweeps, fakes jet sweeps, maybe backside screens, all of those things. But for me as a wide receiver in this offense specifically, if we're going to make another run to a Super Bowl, we need to see more consistent play vertically from not just him, but all the receivers.
So Peter King, he was on Carrington's show on The Drive, and he said that Andy Reid is still, at least to him, talking about Sky Moore as someone he really believes in. Like, put him in the same conversation as Rashee Rice. All these things you're talking about, let's just say off the ball. Maybe he's just not getting it. Do you see some of that with Sky Moore? I don't want to just write the guy off, Danan, but at some point, like we talked about with Tony, production has to be at play.
Oh, yeah, it definitely has to come in play. There's a lot of football left. I mean, we're just past the halfway point of the season. So we've seen how production can elevate for several guys in this offense over the past 6 years. So I don't doubt Andy Reid's confidence in Sky Moore. I think there's definitely an area of this offense that could work for Sky Moore, maybe more like we've seen some of the outs, the hook routes, kind of the routes that he's forced to stop and come back to the quarterback, maybe implementing him more on the shallow crosses and the crosses across the field would be better served for him because he is definitely a threat when he catches the ball. It's just about getting him in the right positions to do so. But I don't know with the emergence of Rashee Rice, I don't know how much more you're going to give Sky Moore. Like, to me, at this point, when you look at this offense from a wide receiver standpoint, every time Rashee Rice is off the field, that's one less opportunity he has to make a big play, and he's been making the most big plays for this wide receiver crew. So you're going to have to balance that. That's what the great thing is about the bye week. I know it's about rest for players, but it's also about the self-scouting. And in talking with the coaches over the years, like, there's a lot that goes into the bye week and self-scouting, doing a self-inventory of teams, and all the analytics that come into play. Okay, well, when Sky Moore goes in motion, is he getting open? When Sky Moore lines up on the slot, when he lines up outside the numbers, how often is he getting separation? How often are we throwing him the ball? Does Patrick have confidence in him in certain circumstances? All of that is logged in. So now when the guys come back from their break, and they've been back from their break, but when they got back from their break, there's a game plan. If it's not posed directly to each player, like a job review, there's a game plan that is calculated based on that information. So this will be the first time that maybe we'll see some things corrected to put guys in better situations instead of what we saw in the first 9 weeks.
We're talking to Danan Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver. Of course, you'll hear him on the call Monday night for the Chiefs Radio Network. And Monday night, it's Chiefs-Eagles. It's the Super Bowl rematch. And one thing you remember that whole week leading into the game, everybody was talking about was that defensive front for Philadelphia and how the Chiefs were going to be able to stop that defensive front that, had 100 sacks since the start of last season. That's the most in the NFL. And the Chiefs, have allowed actually 38 sacks, which is tied for the fewest. And we know the Chiefs didn't give up a single sack in the Super Bowl. How different is that for this game? Because that was like the talking point heading into the Super Bowl game.
Well, I think it's a huge talking point because if we remember from the Super Bowl, especially the aftermath, what did we hear? Oh, the field was the reason.
Everyone's pointing to the field, yeah.
Yeah, we got pressure in Jalen Hurts' face, and we were on the same field as far as I remember. So I think the front seven for the Eagles, if they truly believe that, they're going to come out like gangbusters in this game to prove that that was just an anomaly, that it was true, and we can get consistent pressure in the face of Patrick Mahomes. They're also coming off a bye week, so the same things I just mentioned about the self-scouting and the self-inventory, they actually have had an opportunity to do so as well right before this game. So this is more like the Super Bowl than anything else that I've seen in a while, where you have both teams coming off a bye week, just like you would have prior to the Super Bowl and be able to put their best foot forward against each other. They got the emotion. There's nothing like losing that big game. I lost in the AFC Championship and couldn't wait to play the Buffalo Bills again. And so I believe that the emotional aspect of the game, they will be at a height for the Eagles that they probably haven't played on since that Super Bowl. But like, we've seen the best punches. We've seen the haymakers from other teams. We know that we're going to receive a Super Bowl effort from every team we play, not just the Eagles. And we'll see if we're up to the challenge. I don't see it any differently than the Miami Dolphins, and hopefully we can step up and win just like we did then.
Dane, in the game tonight, Ravens-Bengals has an impact on the Chiefs for a variety of reasons, either since he kind of gets right back into the playoff picture and back into their division picture, or it gets a lot harder for them, but the Ravens are a much, tougher for the 1 seed. Who are you rooting for tonight as it relates to the Chiefs?
Never thought I'd say it, but I'm going to say the Ravens. I just have a higher disdain for the Bengals.
That's right, Drew. You hear that?
Our producer's a Bengals fan, you know?
Oh, still.
No, it's fine.
Keep going. Keep going.
Danan.
For sure. I don't want any success to happen for the Bengals. I feel like they were probably the most disrespectful team to the success of the Chiefs. Burrowhead still, Burrow's in my head, and I just don't want any success to happen for them. I feel like they and the Bills, in many respects, believe that they've still been the best team in the AFC. They just happen to come up short. And what better way to kind of move past that chapter in this Chiefs history than to not even have to deal with them in the postseason again?
Smoking on a Joe Burrow, one of our favorite shirts that we had there. I think we got you one of those.
I got one. Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
Perfect. All right, Danan, appreciate it, man. We'll be listening. Players Only starts back up next week, right?
Yes, sir. We'll be back. Actually, next week is Thanksgiving, so we'll be back
there you go.
after that. So
that makes sense.
After that, we'll be on a consistent run through the rest of the season.